She asked our mother to be there, so I escorted my brother as he left the altar with his wife. The ages of us are 34, 32, and 28, respectively. X is still 30. America. No. I am the younger of two brothers. Regarding the middle one, this is all. When I was a little girl, my mother's irrational jealousy led to our parents' divorce. My dad was fine at first, but he finally snapped when she made remarks about how much he wished I could be more like his wife. She swiftly found love again, this time with a man who already had 2 children. They shared custody for a time. However, she lost it when my dad remarried, accusing his new wife of infidelity and called her every foul term imaginable. Due to my mother's persistent maltreatment, I grew closer to my brothers and father than to her. My stepmom tragically passed away in a vehicle accident. My dad contacted her in the middle of the night to arrange for our early pickup so that we could attend the burial. In honor of the occasion, she decided to treat us to a wonderful vacation. She was the happiest we'd ever seen her, and when we started to grieve over what had transpired, she informed us that only useless people ever cry for WHS. My dad naturally wanted full custody with visiting rights for her once things went nuclear. Even after he paid for our visits to see her when she moved away, the relationship remained toxic, and we began to cut off contact with her as soon as we were 18. At my high school graduation, our last encounter, she made it a point to publicly shame us, along with her HB, for being ungrateful. Have been in NC since then. 3 years ago, my brother Ryan began dating someone else. Even though she is aware of our history and the reasons we are NC, she still thinks we're being over the top. Her views caused a lot of friction between them, although she seemed to abandon her "you must reconcile with your mother" campaign after a while. Nothing seemed amiss or suspicious when the wedding was being planned. After that, we arrived at the church, and sure enough, Mom, HB, and 2 kids were seated in the front. Out of sheer terror, I contacted my brothers right away. After Ryan suspected that she had found out and intended to crash, he contacted his ex-girlfriend to warn her of the possible trouble, but she assured him it was alright because she had invited them. Ryan requested that I get him once he hung up so that my elder brother may attend to owners at the church. We stayed at home and refused to go, even when his ex-girlfriend and her relatives and friends showed up there to attempt to reason with him. Even Mom's HB called to tell us he realized we weren't worth anything. Most of Ryan's buddies and our parents are now on his side, and the dust has cleared. Ryan claims he would rather repay his ex-parents for the money they contributed than marry someone who deceived him, even if they threatened to sue him if he didn't marry her. Despite our unwavering support for Ryan, there has been an overwhelming amount of reaction. Edit. We're all relieved. Thank you so much. Not only has she ignored the criticism, but she even texted my eldest brother Joe to tell him that she believed his wedding gift would be perfect for her since she cherishes family. Ryan is the only one listed on the deed to the house that my dad gave them as a wedding present. Even though Ryan had keys from when they moved in, Joe and a few relatives are removing all of Ryan's possessions from her apartment this week after they had the locks changed. Although we are not concerned about potential legal action, we will seek legal counsel as a precaution. While we are here in our old house for a few days, it doesn't matter whether Mom and her family are still in town. My dad is unhappy to hear that Ryan is upset, but he, my boyfriend, and my sister are all doing all they can to cheer him up. I had to deactivate my SM account and erase a lot of unpleasant comments and messages, but thankfully, the number of them is decreasing as more people find out why Ryan ran away. My sibling is more important than she is, and I'm sorry she felt embarrassed. Second revision. When I inquired with Joe about the church and its aftermath, he confirmed my worst fears. According to him, he addressed the group directly, telling them that Ryan would not be attending and requesting that they return home immediately, as well as promising to return all presents sent to our side of the family. After hearing the news from a relative, the ex-girlfriend began yelling, sobbing, and phoning Ryan constantly as she remained outside the church. Joe wouldn't even look at Mom while she tried to speak to him, so she resorted to her usual tactic, wailing and ranting about how terrible we are until others came to console her. It was irrelevant to Joe and his wife, though. After they left the church, their ex-girlfriend was waiting for them outside, wanting to see Ryan, but Joe politely declined. She then wanted to know how the party would be planned, and Joe offered to donate the food to the restaurant's workers as she didn't want the venue. Except for Joe, who was afraid to give his mother the satisfaction she craved. Everyone else was shouting. Joe and Sil returned after a trip to the grocery store and many fast food outlets, and since then, 2 additional members and I have been playing inside like we're kids again. We wanted to know if Ryan wanted them to go, but he insisted on having them stay. Right now, it isn't an issue because we all took time off after the wedding to visit with our families. We knew the ex wouldn't utilize the venue when she pulled up, so my sister called with Ryan's information, ordered them to remove the food, and left them some tips for their work. It seems like we'll be getting our money's worth in alcohol by the end of the year, so we're going to have a wild celebration. Some individuals have messaged me wondering why our dad ever married our mom. I can tell you that he adored her and thought she was the most wonderful person ever. Despite her pretense, no one would marry her. Including, I suppose, her cruel husband. Because she knew she wasn't. He contemplated remaining by her side until we reached adulthood, but she persisted in deteriorating. Occasionally, she would exhibit amiable behavior, leading him to believe she was undergoing a transformation, only to promptly revert. My ex Sil and I are in complete agreement that mom is a wonderful person with ungrateful children. After all, she is charming and witty, and it's okay to make fun of other people as long as it's not intended at them. But that doesn't absolve ex of responsibility. Since we are generally well-adjusted, content individuals, the only person to whom Ryan explained what happened was his employer, who happened to be at the church. Fortunately, he is extremely empathetic and was horrified to hear about what our mom went through. For the time being, Ryan is relocating back home, per our dad's words, which were that it was a shock for all of us and that we may remain home for as long as we need. Ryan wants you to know that his ex wasn't acting in a troubling way, and he genuinely thinks she understood his background. I sent your post to my family, and they are touched by your kindness. He has consented to meet with her and her parents today, but only if we are there at our house to provide our support. It will be an intriguing meeting. Breaking news for my fugitive brother. First, a little background. Even if Ryan lost some money, it won't affect him negatively. The bride's outfit, an extravagant cake, and a portion of the honeymoon were all covered by her parents. Even if she wasn't the most popular of in-laws, we think our ex-wife loves Ryan very much. We don't communicate with anyone on mom's side of the family. Joe had some contact with grandma before his wedding, but he severed ties with her as well after another disastrous episode. Even though my mom said I wanted to be the wife because it was wrong for us to go on daddy-daughter days or trips, the truth is that we also had Daddy Joe days and Daddy Ryan days. He made an effort to spend time with us both individually and in groups. Her illness is simple. When asked about our parents, the typical response is my dad or my siblings and my dad, as we don't talk much about our upbringing. Assuming mom is deceased is a common way to sidestep questions about why you haven't spoken to her recently. The parents' stepchildren are 2 men in their 30s. Even though she's been busy with her own life lately, our dad's long-term girlfriend assures us that we have her undivided support. Here we have the latest information. It comes out that she threatened to burn or destroy all of Ryan's possessions unless he spoke to her, which explains why he agreed to meet with her despite never having spoken to her. She sent images and videos of Ryan's belongings on the floor to his best buddy Jake. Before anything occurs, Jake, Joe, a few of their relatives, and my boyfriend proceeded to get Ryan's clothing, devices, and essential documentation. After telling Ryan what occurred, they informed her that they need entry to the apartment. Ryan said he couldn't care less about the others and even made a light-hearted remark about how they were the most agile team he had ever encountered. To put it bluntly, the encounter was an absurd occurrence. She arrived accompanied by her parents and sisters. Initially, she attempted to speak to Ryan alone, but when he refused, she proceeded to speak without hesitation. She never once apologized. Instead, she claimed that it was not her fault that her generation grew up despising moms and failing to appreciate the importance of a true family. Because she was afraid he might steal her children, as he had been taught to do, her sole goal was for Ryan to appreciate mothers. When she looked at Ryan's dad and said, "This family is like a cult, and you are a terrible father," Ryan remained silent. Obviously, This is a sensitive issue for our whole family, and we will not tolerate any form of disrespect directed toward our father. Ryan just let it all out about how she was a horrible liar. He was disgusted that he had ever touched her, and he was thankful to the universe for being chronically late to everything. He told her that staying with an unfaithful husband is nothing to be proud of and that she acted nice just to get him to marry her. He went on to list all the little things that he was willing to overlook because he loved her, or at least thought she was lovely. He said that he would never forgive her for the hurt she caused his siblings, but that he doesn't hate her because that would require him to waste energy thinking about her, and she doesn't understand. She had plenty of opportunity to clear things up, he added, and now that she's acting like a victim, he'll be the one to explain his absence. It was terrible, but Ryan needed it because it was therapeutic. Despite their intense redness, her parents said nothing. Tears streamed down her face. Her sisters tried to justify their parents' relationship to her, and I think we were all expecting an argument from our family, but nobody got into it. Then Ryan informed his ex Phil that he could sue if he wanted to, but that doing so would bring the family sins to light, something Phil isn't sure he wants. The parents, who aren't getting any younger and who dispute in every family, continued to insist that Ryan should attempt to make right by marrying his ex. I've never scowled so much. Meeting topics included resolving the family's harassment, canceling and refunding the honeymoon, changing the locks, and returning the wedding presents that had already been received. Ryan was in business mode and didn't want anything from his ex, who was simply sobbing and trying to talk to him. When she revealed that she was planning to keep her engagement ring even though no one had requested it, he finally spoke to her directly. There were no problems when they departed. Our parents and spouse snuck through the gate as soon as we opened it to receive the alcohol. Even when my dad begged her to go, she insisted she only wanted to speak to her baby fives. He brought us up incorrectly, she insisted, and now we're only making her look bad. She was absolutely correct. We have to begin making apologies with her since we obviously lack motherly love. She couldn't believe we were such terrible people. And this was the pitiful outcome. Joe then urged her to go since the cops were on their way. She used this as an excuse to sob. He attempted to persuade him to go out to dinner with her and her spouse for the first time in over a decade. The only thing Joe ever wanted to hear about her was the details of her burial, so he could go celebrate, but Joe just ordered her to go. Joe is threatened with physical harm, and the husband screams and sobs uncontrollably, demanding an apology. Until we noticed that they had departed and shut the gate, Dad and Joe retreated inside and left them there. Some people have a hard time understanding our reactions, but the things I've written about our mother are only scratching the surface. Even though Dad wasn't thrilled with Joe's comments, he knew he had to express them since he was representing us all. We really hope we never see this woman again. Maybe that makes us horrible people. Ryan no longer wants the house, but my dad advises taking it easy and that healing his heart is the first step, so we're all going to undergo family therapy in addition to our individual sessions. We have watched horror flicks in a row with a few Disney oldies thrown in for good measure. Because, well, we are somewhat theatrical. We also played a drama bingo game where we had to guess all the possible outcomes. We grew up loving and treating one another nicely, yet when provoked, we can be really petty. Although I would never want to leave my brother alone at the church, my love for him outweighs any sympathy I could have for her, and it makes me feel better to know that she embarrassed herself. We are now planning to continue our staycation, but we will be taking a family vacation in the near future. Joe is an incredible brother and friend to his siblings, and they are eternally grateful to whomever declared he is a hero. Everything has been read thus far. Apologies for giving me a chance to rant. Joe and Ryan's identities are clearly made up, and I apologize if my English is not up to par about the prizes and the PMS. Take care of yourself, Emma. Just wanted to let you know that my brothers are reading everything you write. We are aware of our good fortune, and they want you to know it. Thanks for the encouragement. They want you to know that things will get better, that there are others who understand, and that you are all invited to join their cult. Second update. First, a few more answers. Please be aware that I will only respond publicly if you prefer private messaging, regardless of whether it is to insult us. Joe did not have a parent. This is the response for the individual who gave me that nasty essay. It was their choice to spend time with me, my brothers. On certain occasions, we celebrated with one another or as a group. Everything they wanted to do, they did. Has a large social circle, frequently traveled both alone and with friends, etc. There were babysitters, relatives, and my dad. They had a great deal of reasonable freedom, and they were never compelled to take me with them against their desire. When I was 3 years old, my parents split. Despite the fact that we had joint custody, we spent the most of our time with my dad and would only see my mom when we were in pairs. They didn't want me to go alone, so Joe and Ryan only paid her a visit once or twice after I became 18, at her request. Long periods of treatment have passed for all of us. The only reason we are doing these extra sessions is because Joe was the only one who really spoke to our mom when we saw her. Also, just so you know, Ryan and I are well prepared to defend ourselves. Joe approached her on his own, and we didn't ask him to. For what reason wasn't my dad a part of Joe's church service? Just because Ryan had urged him to return home. Even if he was required to speak with the woman thereafter, we did not believe he needed to visit her. Ryan has shed tears. There is no monster in him. He was deceived into thinking he could avoid seeing our mother ever again, that he could spend the rest of his life with Emma, and that he was an excellent judge of character. Now he is devastated. Due to our upbringing, we are adept at controlling our emotions when we are with someone we don't like or trust, even when there are a lot of emotions going on. As a means of coping with the abuse we endured, it became an essential survival skill. Joe and Grandma were romantically involved, but they broke up after Grandma welcomed Joe's mother as a guest. There was no religious ceremony, security was present, and an admittance list was not required. After writing a letter to Grandma, he cut off all communication with her. Furthermore, we skipped her burial as well. Roughly 250 people attended the wedding. We were unaware of it since she used other names while creating the seating plan and wedding registry. No, Emma is not from Brazil. There is no alcoholism in my family, as my dad asked me to tell you. No matter how anonymous this is, he is concerned that people would still think this way. In any case, I've had an extremely hectic week. People who warned about the pregnancy strategy were dead on. Her internet message went viral. Apologies for the inconvenience, but many were once again ringing Ryan to inquire whether it was real. She was contacted by Ryan, who requested that she remove it. Then she erased it. Pregnant, she persisted. He invited her to come talk about it and requested that she erase it. She deleted it. This insane woman apparently believed Ryan wanted her back when they ran into each other. Ryan was my companion. Until she saw me walk in, she was overjoyed. As she sobbed into her tummy, she confirmed to Ryan that she was really pregnant and expressed her desire to protect her unborn kid from a dysfunctional family. She sobbed even more as she yelled that Ryan didn't trust her after he told her they were going to the doctor right away to find out. She is not pregnant, to cut a long tale short. However, she expressed her immense distress on social media when Ryan coerced her into having an abortion. It goes without saying that this was a terrible thing to say. The people that called Ryan were so traumatized by all the commotion that they had no idea who to believe. I don't know what happened in that chat with Emma, but I've never seen Chloe this furious before when she learned about the posters and the meat. Chloe emailed all of the people on the wedding guest list with all the pertinent details, including the fact that Emma was never pregnant, even if the postings themselves are gone. It was reported this morning that Emma had a breakdown and left voicemails expressing her want to die if she couldn't be with Ryan. This is just another strategy that our mother would use, and Ryan did the right thing by reporting it to the authorities. She is currently under supervision after her family insisted she attend treatment. Even though we're disappointed that things have escalated to this point, we refuse to participate further. Already requested, we are also updating our numbers. Even though our mom threatened to sue Chloe for defamation over the email blast, neither of us is worried about it. Chloe's parents are incredible, and they've made it very obvious that they support us and are completely satisfied with her decision-making. Chloe calmed Joe down and helped him put the past in the past, even though Joe was furious. As always, mother spouse has been just delightful. A restraining order is something Dad is thinking about, but we don't have them here in the US. It was great joy to hold a get-together at home yesterday. Why not? We adore them. There was singing, dancing, delicious food and beverages, games, and a bouncy house. The wedding and the posters were mostly ignored, but those who did bring them up handled so in a delicate way. A large portion of the booze had already been distributed to the staff by Dad. They were each given a bottle of their choice. In addition, this year he is stuffing his Christmas baskets with booze. During the holidays, we will be traveling together. I informed Ryan about the fresh coat of paint for the house, but he still has no interest in residing there. He plans to lease it. To spare everyone the stress, I joked about eloping or foregoing a wedding altogether, but Joe made it clear that either option I select will result in the largest celebration ever. So, yes, he remains the greatest. Sorry to all the sweet Emmas out there, but that fuck wasn't meant for you. I appreciate the kind comments and mails, but I won't thank the nasty ones, the accolades, or the curiosity. Update about the holidays. It is a pleasure to log in and inform you on our cult, and I appreciate your attention. You are a wonderful person. A few things first. Hello, top YouTuber and subscriber. You're now officially a part of our family legend, and I read each and every one of your messages, comments, and reviews. Even though my grandmother, aunts, and other female relatives filled that void, I have never felt horrible about myself as a woman since my dad's girlfriend, Sabrina, is not a mother figure. Everybody was ready for anything when I told my dad I was on my period. When he told my brothers, they each had their own plan, and no one else was in the loop. In a nutshell, I had 3 guys handle it and even give a presentation on the subject. It was quite uncomfortable for them, and it sounds terrible to me. This anecdote is really funny, and it makes me realize how much they were thinking about me the whole time. We adore Sabrina, and she is wonderful, but she is quite content not to be married to my dad. Even though my dad is against getting married again, we would gladly back him up if he did. Okay, Emma. After Chloe's email, no one believes her sister's attempts to create a major story out of our alleged bad behavior. Her boyfriend broke up with her for the same reason. He didn't want any connection to her abusive family. So long as you don't inquire again, I will keep mum regarding our living situation and our dad's job. Joe and I have updated our phone numbers and social media identities, and we're making plans to relocate. Word is where I compose my postings, and I do keep a little note on the relation between false and genuine names. I mostly do it to ensure that my ramblings are error-free. All of you, my dad says, have been accepted into the cult. Whatever the case may be, I looked at the most recent update, and it was in early November. Most of the updates I have for you are positive. Ryan is doing great. He's only taking some time off from work, and his boss couldn't be more kind. He's been assured that he can always return. He is not concerned about that part because he still lives with his dad and has funds. Currently, he is training for a marathon that he plans to do next year. In addition to being increasingly silly, he is attempting to paint rooms and create murals with his dad and Ryan as part of their house improvements. I can't stop laughing at how much fun they're having. He returned a letter that Emma had written to him. He gave his approval for the residence to be listed for rent. Yes, I am engaged. It turns out the plot has been simmering for months, and I uncovered it when my future husband Owen freaked out over a joke I made about eloping. To avoid making Ryan feel awkward, he discussed the plans with Ryan, who was already aware of them. However, Ryan informed him that he would feel awkward if he didn't. Joe's and my dad were also addressed by him. He broke out in a cold sweat when my dad asked for my hand, although he claims it was in jest. It occurred in the beginning of this month. Compared to my dad, I am not nearly as thrilled. Regardless of the ceremony's legal status, he insists on being my attendant. Even if my news is fantastic, I think other major news is superior. After being on the waiting list for adoption for some time, Joe and Chloe finally got their wish a few weeks ago. A baby. She is absolutely stunning and the most delightful baby ever. As is customary in our nation for infants who are very young, the adoption is final. There was a lot of crying. Happy crying. When they informed us the kid was finally theirs, we knew they intended to adopt my darling for long. Dad is really embracing his role as a grandfather, and despite the rough year, this is the nicest thing that has happened to our family in a long time. After hearing about the newborn, Mom insisted on meeting him or her. A protective order, in our view, has been served upon her. If it helps, she avoids looking at her at all costs. Well, there you have it. Staying home was our decision because of the new coronavirus. Obviously, we wouldn't go on any trips now that we had the new addition. Although Joe and his niece were unable to physically attend last weekend's tiny gathering, which served as a combination of Christmas, welcome baby shower, and engagement, they were able to participate through Zoom. You know that Ryan is the family's runaway bride, so we all decided to buy him some silly presents featuring Julia Roberts, such as t-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, and along those lines. Currently, Joe and I are residing in apartments, but we are seriously contemplating making the move to a house. No matter what comes my way, I will always be thankful for my family. We are still reeling from what happened, and we have a lot of work to do, but we also realize that we have a lot to be grateful for. I think this is the final update for everyone. I realize there hasn't been much drama, and the updates haven't been that interesting, but that's our goal. We have no plans to delete anything. In the event that anything noteworthy occurs, the account will remain here. I hope you have a fantastic year-end and an even better year ahead in 2022. Roundup from 2022. Hola, cult. We should probably apprehend anybody who is still curious about the cult's current situation. First, a few things so we don't get off track. The answer is yes. Spanish is our first language, according to public demand. We seldom see circumstances like open adoptions since adoptions in our nation are final and done by the government. Ever since Joe and Chloe decided that was the way they wanted to start a family, they had been patiently waiting. I thought they meant habemus to mean we have, like when the Pope was proclaimed. Ha ha. Our ages have changed to 35, 33, and 29 months, respectively. I adore the giant bastard interpretation, even if HB was intended to imply husband. Truthfully, it's reciprocal. Just like last year, Joe and I relocated. With a few little hiccups here and there, this year has been mostly nice. It doesn't stop Emma from going fuck herself. To be honest, I'd rather start with the terrible news. Unexpectedly, Emma returned with a swing. She is carrying a child and presents Ryan as the father to everyone who will listen. Unfortunately for Hellall.e. He could never have been the father because he was not even in the nation at the time of conception. Something she had no knowledge about. Ryan feels terrible for her, but he is legally protected and has offered to get a paternity test done many times, but she has refused. Baby. Since Joe handled the owner, Emma's father has not pursued a lawsuit against Ryan for the mental pain of his two daughters, Daniela and the one the boyfriend abandoned. Oh my goodness. I guarantee that the information pertinent to this catch-up, that Joe is a lawyer, is there. Ryan chose not to take any action against him out of sympathy for the family and his own heavy workload. Even though it will never happen, Mom is still adamant about meeting the baby. Cancer is one of her favorite strategies that she has since undone. She asked Joe and Chloe to let her meet the baby through their work emails because she is so unwell. Perhaps a transplant of some kind would be necessary, etc. In actuality, she has had cancer exactly 0 times, but this is like the 5th time she's been diagnosed. She revels in the spotlight, the pain, the drama, and everything else that evildoers love to extract from their victims. Of course, we never believed her. What caught us off guard, though, was her embarrassing gaffe when she messaged Chloe's parents on Facebook. Chloe's mother must have thought she would be simple to influence because she is a nice, devout Catholic lady. She broke the news of her cancer and her anguish over missing out on seeing her unborn child to her. Mother Chloe then asked a few incoherent inquiries on the prognosis and course of therapy. Subsequently, she decided to block her and shared screenshots on her wall. It has the Ryan comedic timing as high school drama, but the characters are older and the stakes are higher. The only problem surrounding the baby was the owner of what to call her. Other than that, she is healthy and happy. Sabrina herself denied our mother the title of grandma, but our mother did it. Sabrina, Joe, and Chloe all had a conversation, and they all came to the Ryan conclusion. She is, in effect, Grandma Sabrina, and Mom can do nothing to change that. All is good with Ryan. He went out on his own after leaving his employment. He's still renting out the other property, living in the family home, and is kind of seeing someone. She is kind, well versed in everything, a master baker, and a knitter. We are optimistic yet wary since we like her. They are moving at a leisurely pace, but it's good to see him with someone so kind. He continued to paint rooms alongside his dad, and here are the results. Keep in mind that these two are my favorites. They are ludicrous, painfully humorous, and reminiscent of a kindergarten activity. After his first bout with COVID-19, my dad was so terrified that he revised his will. Joe's occupation is significant for that reason. When they were through, they wanted Ryan and me to be the first to know. He splits all of his possessions in half. His offspring and any future grandkids will each receive a quarter. Nevertheless, the family home will not be split and will be transferred to my name shortly. Joe and Dad talked about it, and they wanted me to have it. But only if Ryan was on board, which left me a little bewildered. He accomplished it and is ecstatic about it. Beyond the fact that it was morally correct, they provided few justifications. Being the youngest, I can feel it a little bit, but it's alright. Even if Joe's and our family's homes aren't on the Ryan block, they are still quite near because he acquired a house in the Ryan community. It would be foolish for Owen and me to buy anything now that I'm going to be the one to own the house. We relocated to the ancestral house. This has been a pleasant and intriguing experience. Now that Dad is semi-retired and spending more time at Sabrina's, everything is working out well. The murals would have to come down, but Ryan is welcome to remain for as long as he likes. As far as I can tell, we are still engaged, happy, and loving babysitting. I am not pregnant, but I did get a cat in the spring. There is no better time than this time of year to have our wedding, which is scheduled for December. So that's it. There has been no drama, or at least not a major one. We are continuing to heal and move ahead, which is exactly how we want it. If you're wondering why I'm posting this at this particular moment, it's because one of us is a big admirer of the best of Redditor updates, and we were reminded of them. Whatever the case may be, the cult sends its warmest regards and best wishes for the remaining months of 2022. Catch up on 2023. Let me introduce you to Reddit. First, since that is the case, Jake. We are the proud parents of two feline athletes. It makes us thrilled to see Ryan happy again that he moved in with his girlfriend. Sabrina has partially moved in with Dad. It has been a mixed bag, but we're still on good terms and there for each other no matter what. The bad news first. Indeed, our mother's side of the family had cancer, rather than hers. At the turn of the year, one of her stepchildren succumbed to the illness. She is using it the most, and as usual, we find her repulsive. Although we understand the pain of loss, our position on being there for her and her family remains unchanged. We never believed that Ryan is not the biological father of the adorable newborn boy that Emma gave birth to. After the exam, she tried to get him to sign paperwork and identify himself, but he still wouldn't. When she found out Ryan was seeing someone seriously, she lost it. Things became much worse when he moved in with his girlfriend. Her obsession stems from her persistent belief that he is her soulmate. I attempted to cyberbully my girlfriend, but this woman is truly remarkable. By the way, her child's father is a married coworker in his 50s, which is another shitshow according to what we've heard. Not by us. Ryan and his fiancée moved in together. He's making great strides in treatment, as are all of us. His girlfriend is a cherished and well-respected family member. She is well cognizant of what has transpired and has seamlessly blended. He has also completed a marathon, which is a huge accomplishment in and of itself. I know it's not ideal, but whatever. This was accomplished by him. Joe, Chloe, and the baby are all overjoyed. They would like to have another one, therefore, they are still on the list of people interested in adopting. I would also want to reiterate something. There are no adoption agencies in my country. When you match, you receive the kid. And that's it. After some testing and interviews to determine whether you're a suitable fit, you're put on a waiting list. Keep in mind that we are not American and that customs and practices vary from one nation to the next. Hence, I may still be somewhat nebulous. Aside from that, the baby is the most amazing baby ever. I may be prejudiced, but I think it's fair to say that she is told no a lot since no one wants her to be spoiled. Because they are on the market for a permanent residence and doing business from the comfort of their own home, she is now staying in Sabrina's room and using Ryan's playpen. Sabrina isn't complaining and is even enjoying life with her dad more now that they've had a couple vacations together. Since the cats occasionally visit as well, they now claim 3 grandkids, who they adore and are quite involved with as grandparents. I find it funny that my dad, who was first hesitant about having cats, now photographs each of his offspring and prints the finest ones. Just as he always did. I think he buys the cats too many toys. But hey, that's just grandfather stuff. He also informs his pals on their growth, which may be confusing because he gets so enthused about everything they do. LOL. Despite the fact that our December wedding was non-traditional for my nation, my dad nonetheless escorted me down the aisle. Joe served as Owen's best man. Ryan was my best friend. And throughout the wedding preparation process, he insisted on being named Marco. Mom attempted to encourage Chloe's mom to come, but she refused to tell her anything. While I find it repulsive that anybody would justify Sabrina's behavior, some of my mother's family felt it was demeaning. I don't know the correct term. To have her there instead of my own mother. There was zero tension, and we enjoyed ourselves immensely. Not a single person attempted to cause a disturbance, fled the scene, or shed a tear of grief. Instead of working in my childhood bedroom, my boyfriend and I are transforming a portion of the house into our own. For the sect, though, things are looking up. Ryan proudly wears his t-shirts all year round, even if he received a little less Julia Roberts present. Finally, Ryan's GF has mentioned the possibility of proposing to Ryan at the perfect moment, so perhaps he reaches the altar this time.